Good evening, everyone, and thank you to the members of the public who are joining us and my council colleagues. My name is Mary Rosado, and I am the president of the Court of Common Council for the City of Hartford, and I am calling to order this public meeting, regularly scheduled public meeting of February 8th, 2021 to order. For some housekeeping rules, each person wishing to address the council or committee therefore shall, upon recognition by the presiding officer, give his or her name, address, and if he or she represents a group, shall do so. All remarks shall be addressed to the council as a body and not to any individual member. Each participant shall limit his or her remarks to 3 minutes. Any person making personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks or who become boisterous while addressing the council shall be forthwith barred by the presiding officer from further audience at said meeting unless permission to remain is granted by a 2/3 vote of the council members present and voting. During public comment, there shall be no debate by the council, although questions may be asked by council of persons making such presentation. For members of the community, please be advised that this meeting is being broadcasted and recorded by Hartford Public Access Television and can be viewed by Hartford Public Access TV Facebook page, Comcast Xfinity Channel 36, and Channel 6032 for Frontier customers. Language interpreters can be made available if requested in advance. I'd just like to introduce my council colleagues. Here with us, and I'm just going to go by order I see them on the screen, is Councilwoman Shirley Surgeon, Councilwoman Marilyn Rossetti, Councilman James Sanchez, let's see here, Councilman Nick LeBron, and Councilman John Gale, who will be our timekeeper this evening. And of course, on the screen, I want to thank David, as always, for his assistance during these meetings. Thank you, David. First to speak on our list is Estela Segarra.
Hi, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
So I just would like to express my concern about having a more translation for the Hispanic community and the agencies from the city of Hartford. So that's my concern. I know I work at a dual education center in Hartford. We serve residents and immigrants. In some of them, you know, I also, my experiences when I came to this country and I didn't know English as well. I mean, we struggle. We go through a lot of challenges, and I've been in those shoes. So my request is if there will be a little more support for the community, the Latinos that don't dominate the English as a second language, because we still have a lot of people that have been living here for many years, and it's just they don't. Well, we try to recruit them, right? If you guys know that someone that needs to learn English as a second language, please send them to us, to a dual location. We are in a new location, 85 Edwards Street, and we would love to serve them. But we know the reality is that a lot of people, you know, they don't have time. They just don't go to school to learn the language. But I think this is important, and I just want to express my concern. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Segarra. And Majority Leader Clark has joined us, and so has Councilwoman Bermudez. The next speaker is Beatriz Soledad Molina. Beatriz Soledad Molina. And Councilman Josh Mixtum has joined us. Is Beatriz Soledad Molina with us? Okay, moving on to our next speaker, Joseph Cruz Diaz. Joseph Cruz Diaz. Next to speak is Joan Galdamez. Joan Galdamez. Next to speak is Maria Leon Leon. I will come back once we're done with the list to see if someone was having problem hearing us. Joan Galdamez. Mayra Leon Leon. Mayra Leon Leon. Maria Camacho. Maria Camacho. Tanny Dackner. Tanny Dackner. Beatriz Brito. Beatriz Brito. David, I don't think Councilman, go ahead, Councilman Sanchez.
Yes, it could be that they need to press *63, I believe, to speak if they're muted. Maybe that's why they're not responding.
No, they're not on.
They're not on. Yeah, David has total control of that.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah, Clotilde Rodriguez. Clotilde Rodriguez. Iris Rojas. Iris Rojas. Hi. Hi, Iris, you have the floor. If you could unmute yourself. David, could you unmute Iris?
Yeah.
Hi, Iris.
I think I did it.
It's okay.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Iris Rojas. I live in Hartford, Connecticut. Is to express my concern about the need of interpreter in public areas. In our community, there is a lot of resources for them. So I think that is very important. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Iris. Dr. Larry Deutsch. Dr. Larry Deutsch.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Councilman, go ahead, please.
Good. Greetings to all. I hope everyone is healthy. This is Dr. Larry Deutsch calling, used to be on council. I have about 3 subjects, maybe I'll keep it to 2. One of them affects everyone, especially city employees here in Hartford, but everyone, and that are these health plans, which are called high deductible health plans with HSAs. I've said this before, and I must say it again. These can be very dangerous and have a discriminatory impact on lower income people or anyone who's not wealthy. Reason is, when you go to the doctor or emergency room, you may have to pay up front a large amount. And so many people hesitate, even though month to month, it's more expensive to have traditional insurance. I can't emphasize enough, if you have a high fever in a child or a broken ankle or chest pain, some people, if they know they'll have to pay hundreds of dollars to the doctor or emergency room, will hesitate to go. And sometimes that's okay if it's just a cold, but if it's a serious chest pain or a high fever in a child or something that's broken, it can be a disaster if you know that you'll face charges of a few $100s or even thousands if you go to the emergency room. And for some people, it might be okay, but some people will die because they don't have the money up front. Whereas wealthy people, of course, can just charge it or write a check. So these high deductible health plans, when anyone negotiates a contract, especially city employees or anyone who works elsewhere, they should really be careful about these high deductible health plans. Statistics have shown medically that they can be dangerous, even though month to month you pay more. You have more safety when you have a regular insurance. Now, another issue I brought up before is the low salaries for workers in the Department of Public Works, especially those who take out our sanitation and recyclables. You know, I've said this before, and especially now, Black History Month, many of them are African-American or Latino, and we should remember that Martin Luther King was killed in Memphis, Tennessee, when he was also marching on behalf of the low salaries that our sanitation workers get. So my plea to City Council, as well as the mayor, when budget time comes, which is the next month or so, please include hikes for Department of Public Works so that many of these men don't have to work 2 jobs. And also they should get hazard pay, which many workers in that situation certainly deserve. I suppose just one other comment. Well, let me reserve it. I've already said the most important things in my mind. The high deductible health plans are no good, and the salaries of city workers and sanitation is also just too darn low. They may have to work 2 jobs, let alone suffer hazards and have high costs for health care. Okay, so I'd like to wish everyone well, and stay safe, of course, and make sure your city council is responsive in this way to these 2 plans. I would like personal responses, by the way. Some people on city council responded with specific plans and some did not. And that's not so good, not to return a call of citizens on certain issues. They should send a letter or an email or a phone number so they can say, I heard your comment and I will respond in this way to what you have said. So thank you, everyone. Be well.
Thank you, Councilman Deutsch. Next to speak is Latasha Johnson.
Thank you, Council President Rosado, and I appreciate you saying my name correctly too. I appreciate that. And to the council members for this time. I am Latasha Johnson. I live at 18C Franklin Avenue in Hartford, Connecticut. And I'm calling with an inquiry with respect to the House Bill 6376, an act concerning ethnic hair, and wondering what the council's position is on with regard to that. I see that there has been some support regarding resolutions with asking for support from Honorable Richard Blumenthal and Honorable John Larson in other matters, but I'd like to know specifically with this, as there is a great concern with respect to discriminatory acts and prejudicial acts with Black and brown men and women and their hair.
Thank you. And I can't quite remember when it was that we did pass that resolution that I believe was introduced by Councilwoman Shirley Surgeon.
Yes, we did, Councilwoman. There is a resolution supporting that issue. And if Latasha would leave her contact information, we'll forward her the past resolution supporting that issue. Ms. Johnson?
I'll send that out to council.
Oh. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Next to speak is Jay Diaz. Jay Diaz. Jay Diaz. Next caller is Kimberly Pasinski. Kimberly, you have the floor.
Good afternoon. My name is Kim Pazinski. I'm an attorney here in Hartford, and I want to address the proposal to expand the blight on commercial storefronts definition. Thank you all for your time as well. The proposal to expand blight to include commercial storefronts is a 1980 solution to a 2021 problem. If we put 4 millennials from Hartford together in a Zoom conference room for 2 hours, we can obtain 10 really creative, positive ideas that will succeed in addressing any of the concerns that led to the proposal to begin with. The proposal will not help revitalize Hartford, and it will not promote economic growth in Hartford. It will only serve to further make Hartford a place where businesses do not want to go and where real estate developers do not want to invest. It adds yet another risk for when a property owner works hard, spends money to try and lease their property storefronts, only to be unsuccessful, and then on top of that, also risk $100 per day fines. That's a large amount of money. Economic growth proposals should focus on incentives and promotions that make businesses and developers want to come here to Hartford, because the proposals lead to more check marks in the pro column than there are check marks in the no column. The proposed definition of blight is overly broad. The concern with making an overly broad definition of blight comes down to what remedies the city then has. Once a property has been dubbed a blighted property, of course, the city can at some point condemn that property. Other cities have really successfully used incentives, and that's what Hartford should be considering: giving tax breaks, deregulation, transferring abandoned property to new owners, and only enforcing laws against buildings that have caused a public nuisance, spread disease, or are true safety hazards. Exposing commercial property owners to the risk of $100 a day fines and condemnation of their property does nothing to help Hartford and its quest for economic growth. The city should look into positive ways to support its growth with urban renewal subsidies and other positive ways to support businesses and support growth and development here in Hartford. Expanding the definition of blight will do nothing more than deter further investment and further development in Hartford, and it will thwart all of our efforts in trying to make Hartford the dynamic and attractive city that it should be. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next to speak is Ramon de Jesus. I don't believe I see him on the list, but Ramon de Jesus. Leslie Hammond. Leslie Hammond, you have the floor.
Leslie Hammond, One Linden Place. Thank you, Council, for having a public comment, and thank you, David, for all your hard work. We're getting better and better with this whole Zoom thing, which I really appreciate. So I want to talk about a couple things. Like some of you on Council, I was appalled to see the money spent for Attorney Canelli, a DTC insider, and we're still not sure what the money went for. There was one press release. I don't know if that cost $3,300. I have been in touch with Attorney Canelli because I found the checkbook, which I was amazed that we're so transparent and really happy. But it turns out the checkbook had amounts 4 times more than they were. So he immediately saw my post on Facebook and he emailed me about 5 times about it because I had the amounts wrong. So of course I wanted to get the right amounts, but he wouldn't tell me what it was for because you're his client. So I really hope you're more forthcoming about that. You know, I don't need to tell you, I know you guys are all community people. You know how much people suffer in our city. Right now with the pandemic, it's even more so with rent and food. And to be spending, you know, money recklessly is just appalling. Or it seems recklessly. I don't know. I don't know what it went for. But it's definitely an insider, and it definitely makes us look like, you know, corrupt Hartford, which everybody thinks anyway. And the checkbook, if you look, the COVID spending, it's like we were given $1 million. I mean, the names popping out there on the checkbook just are just amazing, like how much some entities are getting a lot of money. And, you know, so I'm doing more investigation, but now, of course, I don't know if the checkbook's right or not. So that's a little frustrating. On the whole thing of charging businesses $100 a day, I mean, you guys cannot be so anti-business in a pandemic. I don't know what you're thinking. Businesses are really, really struggling. I presume you know that, along with our people, businesses are struggling too. So I hope you have a conversation with them and talk to them. I, at one point, looked up all the personal taxes that businesses were behind, and you know, there's big numbers. So, you know, let's look at that, and let's look at who's behind in their personal taxes and let's try to work with them. Obviously, some might be taking advantage of the city, but we do have the highest commercial tax rate. You do know that, right? I mean, it doesn't impact residential, but the commercial tax rate is ridiculous, and businesses are always complaining to me. And of course, I'm always trying to keep them here. So, you know, be creative, work with the chamber or whatever you have to do to work with them, but don't run them out of town. I mean, there's a huge shift downtown with the pandemic. So I presume you know that too. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Hammond. The next person to speak is Millie Arciniega. Millie Arciniega, you have the floor.
Good evening, council members. Long time no see. I see a lot of new people on the council, which is great. I wanted just to share that you know, this whole translation. I want the support of the translation for Spanish-speaking people in Hartford, and even people that come visit Hartford that do not speak English. It is very, very, very imperative to really identify some monies for this to happen. Right now, we're on Zoom, and I know that there are capabilities of running these council meetings and any other meetings that the city may have or state that can run simultaneously in Spanish. So, you know, if you seek, you will find. So this bill really puts that, and it's already there. You know, it's just a question of, are we doing it as a council? So in order for us, you know, to seek equity, right, and bring in the Spanish-speaking parents into the conversation, we have to do what's right. And I believe that this bill would do just that. We just need to find that money to accommodate these families and get it right. It just needs to be done. It's the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Arciniega. Next on the line is to speak is Elodia Rivera. Elodia Rivera, you have the floor.
Hi, everyone. Good evening, Council President Rosario and esteemed City Council members. My name is Elodia Rivera. I live in Hartford, and I work at Newington Rapid Recovery Rehab Center for the 31 years. I am an 1199 delegate. I'm here tonight as a member of District 1199 to speak in support of the Refugee and Immigrant Support Resolution and the Spanish Support Resolution that are being discussed tonight. 1199 applauds the Hartford City Council and the Hartford Mayor for understanding the importance of making essential services and resources accessible to all residents of Hartford. Bilingual outreach in the form of town halls and Spanish language communication has been used and will be continue to be used during the COVID pandemic. The city have helped and is continue to do what the state did not: educate residents about testing, the vaccine, and proper safety protocol when going outside. At the nursing home that I work in, some of my coworkers are monolingual Spanish speaker. There is no difference between us except for the fact that they don't speak English. That actually does not affect the job they do. Our bosses and the people who oversee nursing home at the state level don't send materials in Spanish when they are telling us how to put on PPE or trying to convince us to get vaccines. Our union told them many times how important it was to have material in English and Spanish, but this day they have not translated any materials into any other language. As a union, we are committed to the fight for racial and economic justice, and that means for our work need to be accessible and open to the many language and that make us city and towns. District 1199 support these resolutions and hope that other cities and towns will follow in Hartford's footsteps. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Ms. Rivera. Next to speak is Shelby Williams. Shelby Williams.
Thank you. And I hope you don't mind. I recently lost my voice, so please do bear with me. Good evening, members of the Hartford City Council. My name is Shelby Williams, and I am the Hartford Community Manager for Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids, a statewide public health initiative with focus on protecting brown and Black youth from the harm of menthol and tobacco-flavored products. I'm here to speak in support of ordinance item number 12 regarding the ban on the sale of tobacco-flavored products and menthol products. During the COVID-19 pandemic, it is important that our City Council is aware of the tobacco-related issues associated with COVID-19 and unhealthy lungs. Emerging studies suggest that COVID-19 patients who smoke have a higher chance of experiencing severe symptoms or death than non-smokers because smoking often leads to severe respiratory afflictions and is detrimental to the immune system. COVID-19 makes this clear that our lung health is so tied to our public health and how we as a community must hold tobacco industries accountable for the harmful impact their products have on brown and Black youth. Stand with me for policies that will, during and after COVID-19, make our community stronger and healthier. In part of my position, I have spoken to multiple organizations in the greater Hartford community, such as Compass, Urban Refugees Ministries, Hands on Hartford, Urban League of Greater Hartford, Advocacy to Legacy, Blue Hills Civic Association, Hartford Healthcare, as well as the multiple NRZs that truly do care and serve our communities with the best resources and interest of public health and resources accessibility. And after hearing those concerns of the Greater Hartford community, I can attest that we need to now, at a time when COVID-19 has disproportionately devastated the lungs and lives of communities of color, take the responsibility to protect children's public health. Thank you, and please do attend our virtual event on Black Lives, Black Lungs that continues this discussion on February 11th at 7 p.m. To RSVP or to further this conversation, please do reach me at swilliams@tobaccofreekids, swilliams@tobaccofreekids.org. Thank you so much, and have a great night.
Thank you. Next to speak is Alyssa Peterson. Ms. Peterson, you have the floor.
Good evening, Council. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, Alyssa Peterson, Grandview Terrace. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm a little disappointed. I saw David's list of 20-something people, and I was really looking forward to hearing all of their opinions. I think this list is catching on, and I hope these folks show up at some point in the future. I've got some unscripted comments tonight. I'll run through them very quickly. The first I'd like to tackle is item number 12, having to do with the smoking products. The issue came to my attention because of our city lobbyist. I did not know that Janice Fleming has been selected as our city lobbyist without any review by council or notice to the public. I heard some negative comments, but I've known Janice for at least 25 years. It's hard to believe. She's a tough cookie, but she could be a very effective lobbyist for our city. She's almost like a guided missile if she were pointed in the right direction and if she were given topics that weren't in conflict with another and her client list. And I'm thinking those topics would be the MDC or the Tobacco-Free Kids Action. So on that note, I don't want to conflate item number 12 with enforcement. If children in Hartford are smoking or, buying e-cigarettes or doing whatever, it's because they're buying them illegally. And that's where enforcement is an issue. And that ties in with item number 11 on blight. Storefronts aren't an issue. If we had better enforcement like the town of Bloomfield does, where they actually take people to court, violators to court, we wouldn't have the issue of stores selling to underage kids or the issue of blight. We need to do better enforcement. Smoking products are an issue of adults. If you're over 21, you can choose what you want to smoke. I particularly enjoy those little cigars that taste like wine. I don't support e-cigarettes. I don't support the vaping, but I think it's ludicrous that we're trying to enforce people who are over 21 and can buy what they want. Along the ideas of blight, I'm hoping that to have a presentation made at the next South End meeting at Maple Avenue so that we can address the issue of blight and how to better go after it via the courts. The last item I wanted to speak about was the Kennelly news item. I hate to disappoint all of you, but that was due to the excellent detective work of Leslie Hammond. I will, of course, be writing something up that's far more serious than the article that was touched upon by the Hartford Current. I'm appreciative of that article, but there's a far more serious issue here as regards Attorney Kennelly and the council. So those are my comments, and I thank you so much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Ms. Peterson. Next to speak is Jay Diaz. Jay Diaz. Mr. Diaz, you have the floor.
He's muted.
He's getting there. Mr. Diaz, we could hear you now. Hello, Mr. Diaz, can you hear us? Mr. Diaz, we'll come back to you. Kevin O'Flaherty, Kevin, you have the floor.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great, thank you very much. Good evening. My name is Kevin O'Flaherty, and I'm speaking today as the Regional Director of Advocacy for the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids. We speak in strong support of item number 12, an ordinance that Councilman Clark and Gale are introducing tonight that would ban the sale of all flavored tobacco products in Hartford. For decades, the tobacco industry has been using flavored products to hook kids into a lifetime of addiction. First with menthol cigarettes, then with flavored chew and cigars, and now most recently with a bewildering variety of flavored e-cigarettes. Over 15,000 flavors have been introduced to the marketplace in the last 10 years, and the impact on youth addiction has been both clear and devastating. Flavors hook kids by improving the taste and reducing the harshness of tobacco products, making them more appealing and easier for beginners to try the product and ultimately become addicted. Menthol is especially effective at doing this, as it cools and numbs the throat while it sweetens the taste, reducing the harshness of cigarette smoke. Whether you're talking about e-cigarettes, regular cigarettes, or little cigars and smokeless, menthol, just like any other flavor, makes it easier for youth to initiate tobacco use. And as a result, no flavored tobacco product has contributed more to the harm caused by tobacco use than menthol cigarettes. And as Shelby mentioned earlier, especially now with COVID-19, we need to do all we can to reduce tobacco use now and in the future. We know that 95% of all tobacco users start their addictions before they turn 21, and 80% of kids who have ever used tobacco started with a flavored product. This is why, to Ms. Peterson's comments earlier, it's important to eliminate the availability of these products. Most kids don't buy these products illegally. Most kids get these from older relatives and friends. And as long as these products were designed to hook kids, and as long as these products are available, they're going to end up in kids' hands. That's why the continued availability of these products puts all of our kids at risk. Now, the state is also considering legislation to do this, but in Connecticut, we know that the cities usually lead on tobacco. It happened 2 years ago when Hartford was the first city in the state to raise the age of sale for tobacco products to 21. Bridgeport and several other cities followed suit, and the state did so the very next year. Similarly, Bridgeport has already introduced similar legislation to what you're talking about this evening. and several other cities have expressed an interest. More than 110 cities across the country have done this already, and we hope you'll lead Connecticut in protecting kids from these addictive products. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next to speak is Pete Spain, Mr. Pete Spain. Mr. Pete Spain. Mr. James Williams, I'll come back again. Mr. James Williams. Okay, Miss Milagros Vega. Milagros Vega. If you could unmute yourself. There you go.
Hola, ¿me oyen?
Yes, we can.
Ok, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Milagros Vega y estoy aquí para hablar sobre las traducciones. I'm sorry, I just start speaking Spanish because I just want so you can see how important it is to have translation in the system, especially in the legislative building. Because in Hartford, we have a big Spanish population. Well, I'm not talking only Puerto Rican. I'm talking, Peruvian, Mexican, Colombian, Dominican Republic, a lot. It's a big population. And when I be sometime in the building, I ask my people to come to the legislation to talking about issues. But they don't want it because, oh, no, Milagro. No hablo inglés. They say, I don't speak Spanish. I don't speak English, Milagros. We need translation. So people, especially with mental health, we have a big mental health community. I can speak for myself, for my family. And we can do nothing, especially, well, I can talk about myself. When I have a grandchild in my house, which have paranoia disorder, which is paranoid disorder. In Spanish is paranoia, and schizophrenia. And when I call police for him, and when police come in, he destroy my apartment. And they see that, but you know what? They say, Eric, we're going to ask you some questions. They asking who's the president, what day is today, what is your name? And then he look at me. You see, he's okay. I just asked some questions, and he's okay. Look at them, and I said, but you see the room, you see my house, and they leave. And can happen later, can happen a lot with those people. So we don't got no help for mental health. And then when something happens, a family kills a family, everyone moves. No, we need help for mental health. In the city, it's a lot of teenagers, a lot of youth with mental health. And we as a parent can do nothing because I'm not a parent. As a matter of fact, I called a few months ago, and when they arrived, a lot of police here, they told me, oh, this is a hotspot, you always call. And I said, because I always call because he got schizophrenia, and you told me. And then another police say, oh, I'm sorry, we're not talking about, don't get it this way. I just told him, we're just talking because you've been always calling for him because he's mental health. I said, of course, but the way he talked to me, I did not like it. So we need help in translation. mental health for our youth, if we want a lot of change in our community.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you, everyone, and God bless everyone.
Thank you. Next to speak is Ms. Janice Fleming. You have the floor.
Good evening. Thank you, Council President Rosado and other council members for allowing me to engage you this evening. First, I want to tell you that it is an honor to be your lobbyist. I had no idea that you guys did not know that, but I think I agree with Alyssa. I have the skills and the expertise to handle that. But I want to make one correction on my city's agenda. There is no tobacco. You guys, that isn't one of the issues that is the city focus. However, from a personal perspective, it is my focus. Hence the reason why I took them as a client. Many of you know me personally, and you know I've had a struggle with smoking for over 20 years, and I've been non-smoking now for seven months, and it's a big deal for me. And I took on this issue not for adults, because the legislation that I'm working on and the ordinance that we're talking about, because I keep hearing people referring to adults, this is about the next generations. Adults will do what they're doing, will do. This doesn't prohibit adults from being adults. What we're challenging is making sure that kids, the next generation, is healthier than us, that we don't allow kids to have access to vaping, to e-cigarettes, and all of these things. As you know, I'm not the type of person who's gonna get on board with nothing unless I've checked with the community. I won't bore you with that, because Shelby, I think, did a very good job of articulating who's at the table, and that list is growing. So it is a personal matter of business for me. I don't want my kids or my grandchildren to be caught up in what I have been caught up with, and that is addiction. And I will add this. One of the things that I found really interesting about this whole vaping thing and why I took on this issue is because I tried vaping as a way to quitting. And what I found really quickly is I had became addicted to vaping. In fact, it became easier for me to smoke anywhere. So you can't smoke a cigarette in a building, but you can smoke a vape in a building. And we got kids doing this in school. I feel like I have a responsibility to our young people, to our environment, to not, to hold myself accountable, to be healthy, but to ensure that I also advocate for our children to be healthy as well. And so I am here tonight in support of that ordinance. And I hope that folks see this as not something being taken away from adults, but in fact, protecting our children. So, and I would also argue, so there's that, because I see John's holding up, Councilman Gale is holding up the timeline. So that's my spill. I also been getting a bunch of calls from small businesses today, HESBA and others. There's some serious issues with that bill you guys put out for the retail. It's dead on arrival for North Hartford businesses, and I'm sure you've been receiving the letters, and they asked me to tell you this. So tonight I am here in support of item number 12, the ordinance, for tobacco free, and then I am here not in support of the bill that is the ordinance that is going to be putting small businesses at a disadvantage. Thank you very much for your time. And if you have questions, please let me know. You guys know how to get in touch with me.
Thank you, Ms. Fleming. Next to speak is Jay Diaz. Mr. Diaz, are you with us? If you could unmute yourself. Okay, well, we have Mr. Diaz figuring out how to unmute himself. Representative Gonzalez, is Representative Gonzalez with us? You have the floor.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Well, first I want to say thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. I did find out this morning that yes, they were planning to have some public comment, but then I find out to somebody else that nothing was going to happen today. So that's why I've been running. But listen, I really appreciate all of you to giving me the opportunity. In 2018, 2019, the state collect 335 million in cigarette taxes, and they also collect 22 million on from other tobacco items such as cigars, cigarettes, and pipes, and chewing tobacco. That was the money that they did collect in 2018, 2019. At that time, I was a little bit upset because they want to raise the taxes. And my issue was that they were trying to balance the budget and the expenses of the poor people, knowing there's a lot of Latinos and African American, they smoke. And that's why I was a little bit upset. We were able to come up with an agreement, but then at the end of 2019, that was the revenue. In total, $353 million in taxes. What I'm saying that because right now this bill, if they ban the cigarettes here in Connecticut, that means that we will end up losing like $167 million more. So that's why one of the reasons that I am opposed to this. Massachusetts passed a law banning the sale of cigarettes, and now they regret it because the loss of revenue, because now the residents that live in Massachusetts, they are close to the borderline of New Hampshire. They have to go to New Hampshire and buy cigarettes. On the other side, the people that live next to Vermont, they cross the line to Vermont to buy cigarettes. And here in Connecticut, the one that live close to Connecticut, they cross the line to buy cigarettes here in Connecticut. Other than that, all that kind of problem, Massachusetts right now create a black market. And the problem that they have right now with the black market is that the money they are getting selling those cigarettes, they are using the money to buy drugs and to buy guns, and God knows what they are doing with that money. Massachusetts is a mess. It's all over. Now, one of the reasons that the group that is pushing for this legislation is saying, well, we gotta do this because we gotta save the youth. We gotta save the youth, especially in the Black and Latino community. Listen, that's not true. That's not true. First, because if an adult or a youth, they want to smoke, they will smoke anyway. They will find a way. And what is going to happen here in Hartford this past, the youth, they're going to be out there in the street looking for the black market. And God knows what's going to happen. Now, right now, if we ban the cigarettes and we have the black market here, the package of cigarette costs like maybe, I don't know, maybe $10. It will go up like maybe 20 because that's the black market. They're going to charge more, and right now it's costing a lot of money to the state of Connecticut because the smuggling of cigarettes here. Now, here in Connecticut, it's very clear that we have a state statute that to buy cigarette, you have to be 21 and older. So the problem is not the youth, it's not the adult. No, the problem is a law enforcement problem. They are not enforcing the state statute. I know that if they catch a merchant selling cigarettes to a person younger than 21, I know that the first fine is $250. Second fine is $500. Third fine is $1,000. But guess what? They might end up losing the license. They can't sell no cigarette. But guess what? They're gonna stay in the store, run in the store, no matter what. So what I was thinking that maybe the solution, we have to get a solution about this problem. And I think that right now, the solution, in my opinion, is after the third time, it will be the fourth time. Now, it's not going to be a fine. Mandatory jail is like the DWI. When you driving under the influence, after the third time, you have to do 3 months mandatory. Let's do that. And I know that we can stop this problem. Instead of banning the cigarettes here in Connecticut, let's stop enforcing the state statute. And I can tell you that if we address this problem like that, we will see a lot of changes. Now, by banning menthol cigarettes will encourage smuggling and hurt Connecticut communities, illicit markets that funds street gangs, organized crime, and even terrorism. Banning menthol cigarettes from Connecticut, it would allow criminals to buy truckloads of cigarettes in low tax market and smuggling them into Connecticut, where it's a high tax market. And the money, like I said before, they will use that money to buy guns and drugs. Banning menthol cigarette would hurt the small business, the bodegas, and the mom and pop store. Right now, with this pandemic, small businesses are closing. Right now, if you go to the North End, go to the Park Street, go all over the city, you'll find that the small businesses are struggling right now. And one of the things that it keep them going is because they are selling cigarettes. Now, yes, we know there is a problem with the youth, but guess what? If they are selling cigarettes to the minor, that's something that no matter what, banning the cigarette or not, they're gonna find a way they will bring cigarette here to Connecticut. Who is gonna ban the menthol cigarette from the casinos? Who is gonna do that? So the people from here, if they have to go to the casino, they will go wherever they have to go. And at the same time, they will do a profit. Whatever they'll buy the cigarettes, they will bring it legally to Connecticut, and they're gonna do a lot of profit with that. Banning will generate more violent crimes, and right now, cigarette smuggling already costs Connecticut hundreds of millions of dollars. Banning has been proved ineffective as a way to discourage cigarettes and tobacco use. And the last thing that I will say is the second time that I heard the issue about, yes, let's do something for the Latino and the Black community, especially for the youth. Let's protect them. Listen, come on. I'm sick and tired of listening to that, because when it's good for a group of people that they want to use the race card, they use the race card. This is good for a group of people for their pocket. They are not concerned about the youth or the adults in our community. That's not right. Come on. I've been listening to that for so long. The Capitol, wherever we go, when something's going on and they can use the race card, they use the race card. And let me tell you things. We have a choice. I used to be a smoker. And it was my choice when I started smoking. And it was my choice to stop smoking. So in my opinion is, here, the minority community, we have a choice. We don't need a lobbyist. We don't need anybody to come here to our community and tell us what is good for us. They are going to make decisions for us. Listen, we have to wake up and say, we're not, please, in the first place, I would say, I can't accept something like that. That in our community, we have to allow a person to come and say, this is bad for the community, and because this is bad for the minority community, we're going to make a decision and we're going to ban cigarettes from the state of Connecticut. No. That's our choice. That's the choice of the Latinos and the African American if they want to smoke or not. This bill is a racist bill. It's a racist bill because it will hurt more the Latino and the African American community. I was reading a federal article that says that
Representative
the
Gonzalez?
sale in the whole nation is like menthol tobacco is 30%. That's the sale of the menthol cigarettes. And me personally, I would say, with all the respect, I don't agree with that because the Latinos and the African Americans, they are the one that really like to smoke menthol. And when they said it's 30%, it's because they are dividing all the sales maybe equally. That's not true because Hartford, New Haven, Bridgeport, New Britain, Waterbury, the Latinos that we have, and they like to smoke menthol. So again, this is our choice. Our choice. That's my choice. That's my people's choice. And we cannot allow anybody to dictate to us what is good for us and what is bad for us. That's my choice. And I'm asking to this body, to the city council members, please think about our community, about people saying, well, we have thousands of people dying with respiratory problems. Yes, we have. I agree with that. But not because the cigarette, it's because the pandemic right now. And trying to lie to the people and make them believe that all these people, they are dying with respiratory problems is because the cigarette, come on, that's not true. We know that people are dying in the pandemic, the respiratory problems, that's not because cigarettes, because we have newborn babies. We have a senior, 98 years old, dying with respiratory problems, and they don't smoke. So this is one of our issue. This is one issue that I'm very passionate because I don't like people telling my community what to do. I don't like that. So I'm asking this body, please think about this and reject this. This is not right.
Thank you, Representative Gonzalez. Is Mr. Diaz still on the line with us?
I think I unmuted it.
Yes,
Okay,
Mr. Diaz,
finally.
go ahead.
Okay. And actually, I was getting ready for next week, but they just told me I'm gonna, at least I wanted to mention a couple of points, which I heard Representative Gonzalez talking about it too. And it's specifically over item 12. And, you know, first, I agree that this item is racist, and it really culturally targeted us minorities because it takes away the right that we have to make a decision. Because if we look at this, the irony about this is that you're not saying don't smoke. You're saying you can smoke, but you can only smoke these flavors. No, you're giving us the choice, okay? You're saying you cannot smoke menthol, but you can smoke regular cigarette. You can get cancer from regular cigarettes. We're not worried about that. We're worried about you smoking menthol. And then I looked at the statistics. What I noticed is we've been talking about our youth. And I'm looking at all these numbers that are coming out. What I did find out, there was something interesting, that 36.7% of the daily smokers between the age of 15 and 19, they're the ones who smoke menthol. Interesting about this is that youth, 63% of it, okay, they smoke unflavored cigarettes. So we're worried about this 36%, but nobody's talking about the majority of the youth who are smoking unflavored cigarettes. So if the biggest concern for us is our youth, then the real decision should be, hey, let's ban all cigarettes then. Okay? Because we can't pick and choose. So at the present right now, we have a regulated product. And it's very simple. You need to be 21 years old to purchase it. On the other hand, what we're saying right now is, hey, let's unregulate this. Let's create that underground market. I mean, I deal with a lot of stores in bodegas. You know, they're going to love you because what they're going to do simply is they're going to run that underground market, raise the price. City's not going to get no taxes. State not going to get any taxes. Nobody's going to ID the youth. You walk in a store with $20, they're selling it to it. I asked them. They said, well, they walk in here. I don't have to worry no more about my cigarette license. I'm going to sell it. I have to survive. Okay. So the real issue is that nobody under the age of 21 should be buying cigarettes. They shouldn't be buying cigars. They shouldn't be buying e-cigs because it's illegal. Okay. Same reason, okay, they regulate alcohol. We're not banning flavored alcohol because somebody sold alcohol to a minor. Because we know that alcohol is regulated, just like the tobacco is regulated. What we need to do, and I think that Representative Gonzalez said something that stuck to me, was that we have to increase the penalties. We also, at the city level, has to come and say, hey, if you sell cigarettes in Hartford, we're going to close you down. If you sell to a minor, okay? That's what we should be doing, okay? But we should not be taking the right because somebody sold to a minor. I should not lose the right to choose whatever I wanted to smoke, okay? That's what I wanted to bring up.
Thank you, Mr. Diaz. And we are cutting it close. We do have a council meeting that's scheduled for 7. Most likely it will start at 7:15 because we are running a little bit behind with our public comment. As council president, I always like to give the floor to our residents, and Ms. Janice Fleming Butler has asked that she be given 3 minutes. So Mrs. Flemings, I'm allowing that time. And after Ms. Flemings, then we will move over to our council meeting. You have the floor.
Council President, thank you very much. I want to address what Representative Gonzalez said, because this is the second time that she has said this. First, I find it offensive to me personally for anybody to assume that some white person will make me speak up and do anything. I'm a Black woman, therefore I get to speak on behalf of Black people. I have Puerto Rican grandkids, and therefore I speak on behalf of my grandchildren. Don't know white people, don't know lobbying, make me do anything. I choose my clients, they don't choose me. So that's the first thing. Second thing I would like to say is the city of Hartford has invested so much money in COVID testing. And now what we're talking about is the fact that money is more important than lives, right? No one will argue with me that one of the underlying issues that's facing my community, Black people, is smoking. I will not have anybody insult me to assume or suggest we're the city in which I've served Blacks and Puerto Ricans that I don't know what's going on. It is insulting. It is disgraceful to ever suggest that a Black woman who has given so much to the city is being used by anybody. This matter, as I have stated before, council, is personal because I have struggled with smoking. And like Representative Gonzalez, I have chosen to quit. However, my grandchild I speak for. My grandchild isn't an adult. This idea that people right now is not selling our kids Lucy's, like somehow there's gonna be this new magical Black market. This idea that people aren't going to New Hampshire to get cigarettes
All of that exists. And what I won't allow people to do when we're talking about children is to bring it back to adults. I have made very clearly in my first 3 minutes that I don't care what an adult does. I am here for young people. So if we're going to say that money is more important than young people's lives, then that's what we're saying. Then that's what we're doing. But let's not try to act like these barriers that people are raising here tonight don't already exist. Let's not act like a 12-year-old can't already go buy a Lucy. It won't change their behavior. What we're talking about is access and not allowing our children to have that access. I yield my time back, Council President. Thank you so very much for allowing me to come back to this body because I find it very offensive. I am a Black woman. I find it offensive. Who else am I to speak about? In the city of Hartford, where I've served for over 20 years, door knocks in her community and everybody else's community, to be told that I am here to be on behalf of somebody else is insulting, and I will not be insulted by nobody.
Thank you, Ms. Fleming. That concludes our public comment section. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We will be with you shortly for our regular scheduled council meeting shortly. Thank you.